Welcome to this episode of the She Scales podcast, where we're going to be talking about how to make 2024 your best year yet. I'm super excited to dive into this episode because I'm recording this on the morning of Tuesday the 2nd of January. And yesterday I was driving my bike through Uluwatu in Bali, which is like down on the south coast. It's quite a chilled vibe, a lot of beaches, just a real nice and that's how I wanted to bring in my New Year's Day. And I was riding around. I'd spent a bit of the afternoon on the beach and I was just driving through the town. Sun had gone down. I'd watched the sunset over the sea, which is one of my favourite things to do. I'd been riding around all these tiny little roads. I'd got a little bit lost, but I was having the time of my life. And as I was just driving through the roads and seeing all the town lit up and people around and just a real celebratory energy in the air, especially after I'd been reflecting on everything that 2023 had brought for me and quite all the excitement of everything that's to come. Do you know, I actually started crying in my helmet, which has never happened before. I'm not really much of a crier. I'm just not. And so I've seen people like, oh my God, I cry happy tears. And I'm like, okay, cool for you. I've never ever cried happy tears before. And so I was just riding around, helmet on, looking around at the people and the lights. And it's especially special because I might be moving to that area very soon. And so I was thinking, God, this could be my new area that I live in. And I was like, how lucky am I that I could call this place home? How lucky am I that I can call anywhere home? I could decide to go to Thailand tomorrow. I could decide to go to Vietnam tomorrow. But I'm in a place that I call home and is my soul home. Like, how incredible. And so I just wanted to share that because 2023 was truly my best year yet. And so I wanted to share some of the things that I do so that you can help yourself to make 2024 your best year yet. Because you better believe, honeybee, that even though 2023 was the best year ever, we're going to make 2024 even freaking better. Like, we're just going to blow the roof off 2024. You know, just because 2023 was the best year ever, who says that you can't have two best year evers, one after the other? Not me. I'm going to do it. Watch me. And so this is going to be a 2-part episode. First, we're going to review your last year. And then we'll go into setting your intentions for the year ahead and getting specifically into the areas of the business that I break it down when it comes to like setting goals, intentions, and milestones. So firstly, reviewing your past year. I want you to just take a little bit of time. If you haven't already done this, you know, it's early into January, you've got plenty of time. Really take some time to reflect on the lessons, the learnings, and the achievements from the past year. One thing that I find easy to do when it comes to this is to chunk it down into groups of 3. Is that right? Groups of 3? Yeah. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And to do it that way. And just to write key events that happened, milestones that happened, notable things. I tend to keep it on the good side, but if something happened that was significant, I still include that because it was a milestone I overcame, even if it wasn't necessarily an achievement. Like, for example, when I look back at my 2023 year, the fact that I injured my toe, like nearly chopped my toe off, that's not an achievement by any means, but it is something that I look back on as things that I overcame in 2023, because that was a huge thing. I was limping. Was I on crutches? No, I think they offered me crutches, but I didn't want them. Wait, no, I did have crutches for a little while. Yeah, I did. I had to have dry showers or one leg out the shower for weeks. I had already agreed that I was meeting a friend in Thailand, so I'd got to do cross-country and cross-island trips on a toe that I couldn't properly walk on, so I had to limp through 3 airports, 3 flights, 2 speedboats. Oh my God. Anyway, let me not get distracted. So when you're reviewing your year, group it down so that you've got the January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to December. Write down your notable events, achievements, milestones, and it'll be a little bit easier to think about things when you group it down like that, and you'll realise quite how much you did within a year. I think it will surprise you. So write down events, experiences, where you were, what happened, and you'll realise quite how much you got done in 2023. And so when you're looking through those, and then once you've poured all of that out, to write underneath, what are you most proud of from 2023? What are you most proud of? I'm just going to talk out these questions and trust that you can pause this episode if you want to write along with me and fill out these questions. So number 1 is, what are you most proud of? Number 2 is, what were your biggest learnings, challenges, or lessons during that time? Your biggest takeaways. This might have been your biggest struggles, things that you had to overcome, things that you endured. Girl, I enjoyed a lot of medical trips in 2023. I enjoyed being on first name basis with Barley Medical Tea. Goodness. And so, next question. What new skills or behaviours did you acquire? New things you learn, new habits, new routines, new ways of doing things, improvements that you made to either skills or behaviours. Next question. What do you wish that you'd accomplished in 2023? We're not going to beat you up about the things not done because there will always be more to do. But was there something that you would have liked to accomplish? And just on the back of that, why? Because it's not just about the goal. It's about what is significant about that goal for you. When you think about you wish you'd accomplished that thing, what would it mean to you to have that thing accomplished? Let's get to the underlying reason, the root cause, like the real intention behind it. Because it will be a lot easier when we go into 2024 goal setting if you're clear on why those things are important to you. And the next question, so once you've written down one thing that you wish you'd accomplished, or if you've got a few things under there, your next question is, what held you back? Why weren't those things accomplished? Was it just a timing thing? Was it a circumstances thing, a situational thing? What stopped you from being able to accomplish those things in 2023? And then on the next question, a little bit happier. When did you feel the most happy? When were you the most alert, energetic, and inspired? This can be either like a seasonal thing, a time in your business, a time in the year, or it can be a specific activity. What were you doing when you felt most alert, energetic, and inspired? And then finally, how can you do more of that in 2024? Thinking of the you when you're alert, energetic, and inspired and the most happy, how can you do more of that in 2024? How can you bring some of that into your morning routine? Main character energy. How can you set up your day feeling already super happy, energetic, and inspired every single day? Okay, so we've done a little bit of reviewing your year. You've now written out all of the notable events, experiences, challenges you overcame. Now we're going to get into setting your intentions for the year ahead. Because this is part business, but also part life. So thinking 1 year from now, thinking ahead, and it's the end of 2024, let's write this in a past tense. What are you most proud of having achieved? So it's the end of 2024. Maybe it's New Year's Eve. You're writing in your journal about everything that you've achieved in 2024 throughout the whole year. You're doing this exercise again, grouping out your months. You're seeing everything that you've done. What are you most proud of that you've done in 2024? Ooh, juicy. And let's really get stuck into this. What does your business look like? And this can be wildly different to how it currently looks like. So what does your business look like 12 months from now, end of 2024? You've shown up with main character energy. You've been working on being your best self every day. You've been serving higher level clients. You've been serving a higher volume of clients. You've been growing the business for 12 whole months. What are you most proud of doing in 2024? What does your business model look like? Think about offers that you offer that you don't currently. Has the team grown? Do you have new either systems, automations, or processes in place? Are you in a different place in the world? What feels easy at the end of 2024 that doesn't currently feel easy? Really get stuck into that. Allow yourself just to dream. Look at this ideal business that you're building. Because the whole point, when we get further into, we're going to come to goals in a second and like really chunk it down. But let's start with what you can achieve in a year. A lot of people really underestimate how much can be done in a year. Was when you move quick, when you trust your judgment, when you decide to go for it, when you don't look at all the reasons why it can't and instead look at all the reasons why it can, and you just move, those are when the biggest needle moving activities happen. That's when, like, the moving of the book, I don't even know if that's a phrase, but anyway. The moving of the book happens when you move quickly. And moving quickly comes from knowing where you want to be, knowing the direction that you want to go in, being able to make quick decisions as to whether that is a good decision for you and you need to act on it quick, or knowing that it's not in your best interest and that was just shiny object syndrome trying to throw you off. So, hopefully now you have mapped out a bit of what your ideal business looks like. You've talked about what things look like by the end of 2024. You've got clearer on the business model, new offers that you've brought out, notable experiences that happened. Maybe you had a new brand shoot. Maybe you traveled with the business. Maybe you've resettled somewhere else. Maybe you've launched your mastermind. Maybe you've launched your membership. Maybe you're serving ladies all over the world, or men. Maybe you have launched your own events. Maybe you've launched your own retreat. Maybe you have traveled around the world with the business. Maybe you have launched a group program. There are so many options. So write down everything that you have done 12 months from now. Okay. Now, now we're going to get into actual goal setting. So, by the way, if you message me, and I'll put it in the show notes here, I have a goal planner that I use for my Sold Out Sales Academy ladies, which is what I'm using to talk through this episode. So if you want this planner, I'll pop it in the show notes so that you can download it. So the way that I do goal planning is very much inspired by my days in corporate, because we had all the different functions of the business. And so I still use all of those different functions of the business. It doesn't matter that my team is not hundreds of people who all have, within their own department, because potentially that's what the business will look like one day. But right now, I just need to make sure that each department is represented, it is seen, it has its individual goals and things that we're working towards, so that the business as a whole is running streamlined and that me as a CEO has got eyes everywhere. So I break my goals down and I'll read out what the business areas are, and then we'll get stuck into like how to plan goals in those areas. So I do mindset, number one. That is a business department in this business. We have mindset, marketing, sales, business and brand, client service and experience, finances, and then CEO personal. So we've got mindset, marketing, sales, business and brand, client service and experience, finances, and CEO and personal. So 8 different areas of the business, if you like. So coming into number 1, and I set these initially for the year, by the way. I do exactly as I've just done with you. I set goals for the year first, and then I chunk it down into 3-month goal setting. And then Then sometimes I will break it down into the individual goal setting, but I am also someone that can just be lost in planning. And if I do too much planning, it stops me moving. So I like to just write down my year goals, write down the quarter, and then get moving. So do with that as you will. If you want to break it down to a month-to-month sprint, be my guest. There is the option to do this on this planner. So writing this down for the year. In terms of your mindset, what either goals do you have? What habits will you commit to look after yourself? How will you make sure that you're keeping yourself feeling inspired, happy, and productive? How are you actively working on your current limiting beliefs? Like as you grow, as you progress, there's going to be new fears, new worries, and limiting beliefs that come up for every new stage of business growth. So this isn't something that you tick off at any point. There's always going to be a little bit of like, oh my God, I've never been here before. That is the sign of growth. That's a good thing. And so what are you doing in your daily practice to make sure that you are keeping mindset woes at bay? How can you keep yourself calm, acknowledge and process these so that they don't become blocks? So this might be getting around other people at a similar stage of you or a stage ahead of you so that you're motivated. It might be joining a group program so that you have a check-in on a morning so that you've got that daily accountability. It might be that you're working with a coach so that you've got that daily accountability, so that you've got that fire every single day to keep pushing, keep moving the business forward and taking intentional action. It might be that you get part of more membership so you feel more part of a community, so you feel less alone. Whatever those things are for you. I would also, if you're someone that exercises, and I would encourage you to be so, like that is such a core thing for keeping your mindset in check. So write down what your things are, your goals and action points are under the mindset heading that is going to allow you to become this unstoppable woman because you are constantly working on improving your mindset. This is a daily action point. So what are your non-negotiables? Maybe it's working out 5 times a week. Maybe it's joining a group program. Maybe it's joining a mastermind. Maybe it's joining a membership. Maybe it's going one-to-one with a coach. Write down those things for you so that you've got your mindset covered and that you can look back on this. And again, you've got this for the year, but you can chunk it down to 3 months. What are some specific things that you want to get done within the 3 months that are going to help you really get your mindset in check? At this point, I'm going to tell you that Main Character Energy is in June. So when you're chunking things down to the year, get your ticket to Main Character Energy, which is in London in June, on the 13th of June. And this will massively help with mindset. DM me after this if you would like your ticket to Main Character Energy. Just going to pop that out. Cheeky plug. Okay. Business area number 2 is marketing. So the reason I've put this before sales is that without marketing, you can't have sales because you need a community, you need a network, you need people to have an awareness of you before sales is going to happen. So under marketing, I like to look at where I currently am and where I would like to be. So I make a track of what are my current audience sizes on each platform. So what is your main platform? What is your secondary platform? And what is your email list? Up to you if you take it further than that, but I just have my primary, secondary, and email list. I write down what those numbers are currently. So how many followers do I have on my main platform? How many followers do I have on my secondary platform? And what is my current email list? You guys know that I'm not one that's like, you need to go viral, you need to have a massive following. However, you do still need to make sure that those numbers are growing. You don't need to be viral. No, you don't need to have 100,000 followers. But you do need to make sure that your numbers are growing. Because if your numbers aren't growing, you're staying stagnant. And we're looking at a 12-month timeline here. So you should be expecting to massively increase the numbers in that time. Again, look at what's happened over the last 12 months. I know for me personally, because I increased the amount that I was posting, I've almost doubled my Instagram number. Almost. Which is wildly different to the year before, where it stayed stuck for quite a long time. So this is your sign. What is your current following on your main platform, your secondary platform, and on your email list? Then when you're looking at what your goals are, we're looking at 12 months from now. What are your goals for your main platform, your secondary platform, and your email list? And then break it down. What is your plan to grow those numbers? How are you going to grow those numbers? What actions are you going to take? I actually just gave you one, which is increasing the amount that you're going to post. This is a social media platform. They're free to use, so naturally they're going to reward the ones that use it the most with the quickest growth. So if you want to grow your platforms quicker, the easiest way there is to post more. And I'm not saying like post drivel. I'm not just filling space here, but more intentional, good quality content will grow your following faster. So make sure you've got all of those things down. Let's move on to sales. So your monthly sales goal, your monthly cash goal, and your actual breakdown. How many clients would you need at X pricing in order to hit your sales goal and cash goal? And if that is the goal, what is your current conversion rate? What I mean by that is, of the inquiries that you get and people that you come through, how many actually close? For example, if you get, I'm just going to say 10 inquiries come through in a month and 7 of them close, you know you've got a 70% conversion rate. It might be that you don't have this number written down anywhere, but you just know it roughly off the top of your head that like a rough majority convert. Or maybe you're saying, no, about 1 in 2 converts. Okay, perfect. You got a 50% conversion rate. So, I mean, there's 2 areas that we can look at there. One is increasing that number so that you can get it closer to 100%. But even if you know it's 50%, you then know that in order to hit the number of clients that you want per month, if you know that 50% of your inquiries, let's say you want 10 new clients in a month, and you know that 50% of your inquiries convert, that tells you that you're looking to get 20 inquiries in a month, and then you'll hit your sales or your cash goal. And then you can look at, right, what activities bring me inquiries, and you can be more intentional with your actions there. So there we go. I was a little bit like, write down all the numbers, but I think this is really helpful because you can start to be far more intentional and really looking at, you know, what either types of posts bring me inquiries, what when I'm selling brings me inquiries, what sells easy, you know, if I throw up a story link, what often sells quickly versus what takes a little bit more time or my audience need to hear a bit more about. Are there low ticket offers that I can throw up quite quickly just to bring some cash in and between the high ticket offers? If I want to hit a high sales goal, a high cash goal, does it make sense to only be selling my high ticket offers? And how many times do I need to sell them in order to hit my goal for the month? All questions to be asking. So write down what you're, again, up to you how you do this. If you want to do the whole 12 months from now, what do you want a normal sales month or cash month to look like? And then chunk it down into your 3-month goals from there. Okay, moving on is your business and brand. So over the next 12 months, what milestones or biz things are important to you? I tend to put things in the business and brand category that are big for the business but aren't directly money making or aren't directly sales related. So they're things that massively help the brand and that help the business long term, but they're not necessarily things that I would benefit from right now. These are the long term, this is planting the seed that future you gets to benefit from. So what are you working towards? I tend to put visibility things in here because, again, they might not be directly revenue generated, but they are massively helpful for the business. So this might look like either featuring on more podcasts, it might be getting interviewed, it might be writing a magazine article, it might be going on YouTube, it might be expanding onto another platform, it might be speaking opportunities, being a guest speaker in someone else's program, hosting your own workshops, being a guest expert, speaking opportunities, hosting your own events, even your own meetups. You know, anything that's going to help build your visibility, or your reputation. Things that boost your brand, your credibility, and your authority. So write down what those things that you want to achieve in 2024 are underneath business and brand. Next thing is client service and experience. So what goals do you have over the next 12 months that are going to improve your client service or experience? This might be things like you're improving your onboarding and offboarding experience. It might be how you communicate, your methods or your channels or your frequency of communication. It might be your boundaries. What are you no longer available for in 2024 that you were available for in 2023? Consider here as well your past and current client feedback. Are you getting regular feedback and testimonials? And on that, are they easy to find for new potential clients? It's not just enough to have, and I'm speaking as experience here, I've sat on so many good testimonials that are in Google Forms in my Google Drive that nobody can see. What a waste. And so yes, it's cool for screenshots, but for new clients coming on board, they can't see that information. So to them, it's worthless. So are you collecting your past and current client feedback, not just in a place that's private and only you can see? Are you getting regular feedback and testimonials in public? I think there's going to be a big shift for 2024 is people moving their testimonials in public because there's more and more people faking it. So collect your client feedback in public, and that will build so much more trust with your audience. Could you increase your feedback opportunities? Either by checking in more often, changing your process, sending your clients a little wow factor, anything that's going to increase them being like, oh my God, I love this. Improving your client experience can look like adding a VIP gift, a little thank you, a welcome gift, whatever that looks like for you. Think about ways that you can improve your client service or experience that are going to keep them absolutely wowed. Because then not only will you get an incredible testimonial from your current clients, but they're also more likely to go and refer you to people that they know and bring you more clients. Win-win. They either become, and then, of course, they might upgrade onto your next or higher offer. They're going to be more likely to stay in your world if you've given them a wonderful client experience. So there we go. That's client experience and service. The next one, last but one, is finances. So what do you want to improve around your finances? This might be how much you pay yourself in the business. It might be increasing your profit margin. It might be reaching a certain financial goal, either revenue coming into the business. It might be, I don't know. Those are a few that I've listed out. And up to you here whether you break this down into business and personal. Like, what are the business financial milestones that you want to hit versus personal finances? Now, I would encourage you, something that I've spent a lot of time in 2023 doing, is improving my personal financial understanding. I've been reading a lot of books, a lot of podcasts. I will look to get myself to more events. As the CEO, it's no longer acceptable to bury your head in the sand and say, oh, you don't know much about finances. You're a business owner. This is your responsibility. And there's a lot of people who, it's one thing to make money. It's another skill to hold it, to keep it, to manage it well. And so if you don't look at what your either spending habits are or look at the investments that you're making, even if you make a shit ton of money, you can still go broke. We hear about celebrities, famous actors, Hollywood movie stars who go bankrupt, and it's because they're not good at managing money. They might be good at making money and they might be highly paid. But then if they have unhealthy spending habits or don't know how to best manage money, they can still overspend and run themselves broke. This is why lottery winners, you hear all the time, like they won millions in the lottery and then were broke shortly after. So I would absolutely encourage you to break this section down into business finances and personal finances. and write what your personal finance goals are underneath here. This might be, I'm trying to think, some of examples of my own was increasing my pension contributions. Again, looking after future me. Increasing my savings and investments. Looking at the actual investment providers I've got and seeing if they're the best ones for me. And just improving my financial understanding, like reading more books would come underneath here. And then lastly, we've got CEO and personal. So again, this is a bit more custom to you. I would be putting your life stuff in here. You as the CEO of the business, what is it important to you to do in order to grow the business effectively, in order to manage a happy you, not just a happy business? So what personal life things are you aiming for? Is it a certain level of lifestyle? Is it what you want your ideal day to look like in terms of how many hours you want to work, or things that you want to do as part of your morning routine, your exercise routine? Maybe it's that you want to read more books over the year. Maybe it's that you want to have more time for travel or holidays. Maybe it's that you switch off the laptop at 4:00. Like whatever the thing is for you, write these down as personal things that you're aiming for. Because when you're growing the business, it is essential that you're growing it in line with what's important to you. What does the happiest version of you look like? And are you building a business in support of that person? You know, are you building a business that's going to help you to grow and help you be a happier you, or are you doing it against yourself? So I'm just going to run through all of those again. We had mindset, marketing, sales, business and brand. Is there 7? I counted 8. Business and brand, client service and experience, finances, which again you can break down to business and personal, and then lastly CEO and personal. So hopefully you've written down some goals and action points of things that you're going to do under each of those categories over the next 12 months to put your business in a completely different place. How exciting! And then once you've done it for 12 months, it'll be easy to chunk it down into 3-month sprints. So this can be either like things that you want to bring out, things that you want to get set up in place so that you can launch the thing in the next quarter. It might be that you're focusing on community growth in Q1 ahead of a mastermind launch in Q2. It might be that you're focusing on launching your new podcast in Q1 because you want to host your event in Q2. You know, just think logically, what does it make sense to do in terms of your visibility seasons? I mean, every season is visibility season, but you get what I mean. Where does it make a lot of sense if you're launching on new platforms, or maybe under marketing, you said, oh, I've got a main platform and a secondary platform, but I know that they could be working better for me. So I'm going to focus on creating a different type of content that will get me even more visible. So I hope that you enjoyed this exercise. I truly believe that the world is your oyster. Anything is possible. And so 2024 can absolutely be your best year yet. Now, before I wrap this episode up, I want to give you some little tips here, because we've talked about, we've reflected and reviewed on your 2023. We've talked about what's coming up in 2024, and you've set goals across each area of the business. So you've got a clear direction on what's happening. Now, just to give you some tips here, general tips to make 2024 your best year yet. Do not hesitate or wait. If you get an idea, if there's something that you want to launch, if there is an idea that lands, even if it's just a post idea that lands, or an idea for the business, how you're going to grow it, what it looks like, even if you dreamed on the business, don't hesitate or wait. Now, use discernment here. I'm not saying be a magpie and that every single idea you have is a good idea. Use some common sense and either ask people or check in with a coach. Again, use your own judgment here. What I'm saying is not every idea is an idea that needs to be acted on. But when the ideas that need to be acted on land, Don't wait around. You don't need to wait to be ready. You don't need to wait to feel ready. Move with what you have and become ready on the way. When I decided I was launching a podcast, I didn't go into, ordering all the right equipment, or hiring a podcast manager, or hiring some fancy studio, or just setting a load of unnecessary goals. I decided I was going to do it. I think I spent like one night researching platforms and like physically how to do it because I'd got no idea. I announced it to my audience on the Friday and it was out by the Monday with 3 episodes. Branding done, title, trailer, 3 episodes filmed, uploaded, scheduled, done. So you really, really don't need to wait. I wish that I'd done now, knowing how quick I was able to do it, I wish I'd done it ages ago. Because now I'm able to benefit from the metrics and analytics and things, so I'm able to see so much more about what my audience want to see. And therefore I'm able to customize what I'm bringing out because I can see just from episode plays what people are choosing to listen to. So I can make more informed decisions about the business now because I've got more data to work with. So don't hesitate or wait. Go. Move. On that second point, trust your instincts. If something feels, what I mean here is when you're dancing on that line and you're like, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? You can tell the difference between something that is nerve-wracking and exciting versus something that is nerve-wracking because it's your alarm bells going off. So again, use your own discernment, pay attention to how things feel in your body. Is this something that is just, it feels stretchy and it feels on the edge of your comfort zone and that's a sign to absolutely go forward and do it? Or is it your internal alarm systems that are like, And I will also still say, use discernment there because I remember my internal alarm systems going off like wildfire before moving to Bali. They were just, whoa, it was wild. But did I still know it was the right decision? Yes. Was it hella uncomfortable? Yes. Because I'd been in an environment that was my comfort zone for too long. So when it came to making a big decision like that, my internal systems were like, they were going nuts trying to keep me stuck. And it brought up a lot of questions. I was like, am I making the right decision? Am I crazy? Why is my heart absolutely racing when I'm sitting down resting? My internal alarm systems were doing the most to keep me safe. Would I have made a massive wrong decision had I have listened to them? Hell yes. So, trust your instincts, but also you know what's best for you in the long run. Another general tip here when it comes to making 2024 your best year yet is to read a lot. Read books. You really don't know how much you don't know. So whether it's things about finances, whether it's things about marketing, whether it's things, I'd have the occasional fiction book thrown in there just for like a nice easy read if you want to get lost in another world from time to time. But really increase your non-fiction books, your business books, your mindset books, just your awareness about the world around you. The more you read from experts, the better you're going to become at being a business owner. And lastly, develop your emotional intelligence. I know the other 3 were quite simple, like don't hesitate, trust your instincts, read a lot. And then the last one's develop your emotional intelligence. And what I mean by this is like really stopping to ask yourself why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Not necessarily if you're feeling joy and like elated feelings, like revel in that. But if you're feeling that either something is throwing you off or something's triggering you or you're feeling overwhelmed or there's just some mindset stuff coming up, ask yourself why you're feeling like that. What is triggering you and does it serve you to feel that way? Why do you, start to unpick why you do things the way that you do them and if that is the best way of doing them. And you don't have to be harsh or, judging yourself unfairly here, but just unpick, why is it that I do that the way that I do that? Well, is that the best way of doing it for me? Are there other better ways of doing things? I know that this is I am the way that I am, but also could I change to help me better? You know, you're not, what is that phrase? Oh, I'm thinking of a different one. I'm thinking of the tree one that's like, you are not a tree, just leave. But that is not the right phrase for this context. What I mean here is that a leopard can change its spots. It can. If you are not happy with something, you absolutely have the power to change it tomorrow, today. So develop your emotional intelligence, ask questions, look at things objectively, pull yourself out of, especially if you're in a little mindset hump, pull yourself out, look down objectively and say, is this the CEO that I want to be? Am I making a good decision for me or the business right now? And I would also say that reading books will help you develop your emotional intelligence. Also, getting inside any sphere or space with other high-level CEOs is going to massively increase your emotional intelligence, because you're going to see what triggers other people. You're going to see how they respond differently. You're going to be forced to level up. So I would encourage you, if you're someone that's already doing well, like sales-wise, you've grown the business, you've grown the brand, marketing's doing well, and you're now looking for that next level of support and to really be stretched, get yourself into a mastermind, 100%, and this will massively increase your emotional intelligence. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, everyone. I hope that you've reflected and really rewarded and just supported yourself for an incredible 2023. And now as you're looking at your goals for 2024, that you set some lofty goals, like go for it. Big dick energy, go for it. A lot can happen in a year. I know people who have completely and wildly changed their business in a year. So there's nothing to say that all of the efforts that you've already put in aren't compounding, and that 2024 is the year that they all compound together and you absolutely skyrocket. How exciting. So if you enjoyed this episode, send me a message on Insta, Sarah Buckland Coaching. I've also just started my new TikTok. So if you're a TikTok girly, come and follow me over there. It's Sarah Buckland Co. The old one is still open, but I'm not posting on it. And so, yes, the new one is Sarah Buckland Co. It's been 1 week of the new journey. And so I'm excited to put on my 2024 goals where this new TikTok account is going to take me. And so, yeah, send me a message if you enjoyed this episode, and I shall see you inside the next episode.